but he was very interested in what you had to say and understanding who you were, where you came from, and making a real connection. And I think as I have talked to people over the years, that's what they remember the most about him. We were widely recognized walking around the Third Ward, and we knew most of the business owners, and spent a lot of time tromping around the Third Ward in 20 plus years there. And he loved everything about it. Like I said, we knew most of the business owners. He was a passionate supporter and advocate for continuing to make it a great place to live. It's the only place I've actually ever lived in Wisconsin. He was all about bringing people into the neighborhood. The way we're positioning it, it's going to be looking straight down Broadway, which is kind of the main artery of the Third Ward. So sort of his perspective on his favorite place in the world. And he traveled a lot, but Milwaukee was, he thought, the best place, and within Milwaukee, the Third Ward. I don't know that I could answer why they were his favorite pair of glasses. I think that he loved the way that they made him feel, and he had lots of bright colored clothing. What made Andrew special, I think, is his ability to connect with people and to really see them, and also to listen to them.
I can't wait to have it out there every day and thinking about Andrew. I live less than a block from the park. Obviously work in the neighborhood. I'm around 24/7, and just to have that memory and really vision Andrew had. Andrew and Tracey were part of a group of folks, right? We call them the OGs of the Third Ward, people that before all this activity, before the public market was going on, they believed, they invested, and then they championed it almost on a daily basis. So that's the memory for me, is we're gonna have some fun with this, because it is a different type of sculpture. It's literal in a sense, and a lot of the public isn't going to understand it, depending on how we message it on site, but it's his spirit, and he lived on Broadway between his residence and the public market. That was his walking path, and all points in between. And so just to have these glasses pointed down Broadway, it's perfect. No question. And I think that's one of the great success stories of the Third Ward. And I'll go back further than Andrew's investment when he moved in and started living there. This was the vision the group in the 70s and 80s had, as these vertical manufacturing businesses started moving out and going out to the suburbs or closing down entirely, and these buildings were vacant. The city had some pretty bad plans for it at the time, and a group of property owners and businesses got together and said, wait a minute, we've got a higher and better reuse of this neighborhood. And this was what's happening today was their vision. And Andrew just became part of that group that kept championing it, each decade, each year, as we all work on these issues to make a more viable neighborhood. And it continues to grow in leaps and bounds. It's one of the hottest markets for living, for doing business. The market is now one of the top 3 tourist locations in Wisconsin. I think just that Andrew was so full of energy and passion. Again, if we're talking about the location and the Third Ward, he had so much energy and passion for it. And I just want people to experience that via the sculpture and via just everything he worked towards. We've recently installed, in cooperation with a private group, a beer garden, if you haven't been down to the park in the last 3 years. That was the kind of thing Andrew would bring up, kind of on the side 5, 6, 7 years ago, and say, why don't we do a beer garden in the park, Jim? And because of a variety of reasons, we just never got to it. Or for instance, we've started hosting a barbecue in the park. Unfortunately, in the year, just the first one was the year before Andrew passed, but that was his idea. And it came out of the pandemic, and Andrew was like, why don't we get that barbecue? I've been talking to you guys about a barbecue for 3, 4 years. And so the pandemic forced that issue. And when we have that barbecue with our members in July, that's Andrew's idea.